Hey, welcome to the Hive Sub podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Martinez. Today we have a special guest, the land lawyer out of Twitter. This is a special interview today because he wants to stay anonymous, which is his own prerogative. If you haven't been on Twitter, check it out. There's a lot of anonymous people on Twitter, but that's okay. But the land lawyer is a land investor and he solves difficult problems. So we're going to cover a little bit more in detail of that. But uh, land lawyer Brian, because he doesn't want to give his last name, but Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. So, Brian, we've been communicating on Twitter, and I think he does some great work, which we're going to cover a little bit into. But let's talk a little about your background, how long you've been a lawyer, and how long you've been in real estate.
So I graduated from law school in 2019, passed the bar, all that sort of stuff. Um, then came down to a great law firm in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay.
Um, yes, I was with them from October 2019. Then my first day of being full time in the land business. So I left the law firm, left that entire life behind. It was October 1st of 2022. So 23 was my first full year, full time in the land business. So it's been exciting.
That's not bad. That's not bad. How many deals did you do your first year full time in real estate and land? Do you know that number?
I can tell you.
A few
Let's
clicks
see.
away. It's a few clicks away.
Let's see. So 20. So let's see. So the question was first year full time.
Yes, 2023. How many deals did you do?
So it was right at 100 deals, and that's
Wow,
including seller financing, and um, cash deals.
that,
So that's
that is amazing. That's really
yeah,
good.
we were going hard for sure.
That's good.
We're sending a lot
So,
of men.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so you're doing direct mail is your only marketing strategy.
Yes, I mean we've tried some cold calling services, and I don't know if it's you know just an issue on our end or the service that we're using, but we really haven't had much success with that, and our results are just so repeatable and so reliable when it comes to direct mail that we're just hammering down on what works.
I understand. I understand. So one thing I think it's very important. I want to iterate here is that doing direct mail, you got to have some capital spend, and you got to make sure you have consistent capital spend because you're not going to get deals your first mailing. You might get deals depending on how much you send, but it's really consistency over time that delivers best results. So how much were you kind of spending per month on direct mail for land?
So we ramped it up towards the end of last year. uh, I mean, there were some months 2023 that we were sending probably like 5 to 6 thousand mailers, and there's other months that we're sending 9 to 10,000. So call it, data cost, everything, call it like 68 to 70 cents a mailer. So just kind
Yeah.
of back into that number in there. It's in the low to mid thousands per month that we're spending. And I would say that we've spent some significant time going through different versions of our mailer copy, and uh, we really put effort into accurately pricing our mail, because that makes a huge difference in your conversion rate and even your callback and contact rate. So I think that, there's no aggregated source of who's getting the best response rate, but we're getting, I feel like, a pretty decent response rate, and then a good return on our advertising spend.
Now, are you doing like blind offers, or are you just sending like direct mail with like context us if you want to sell type mailers?
I call it a warm offer. So like I'm
Okay.
not doing a I'm not I- a lot of people just send a 2-pager that has the who I am, then here's my contract on the back page. And we've done that before, and it's awesome when you go check your mailbox and there's like a signed purchase agreement that's in there, and then you're like, oh, price works, okay, perfect, have a deal. But we switched to a one-page mailer, and it doesn't promise like I will pay X for your property. It doesn't say like I will pay $50,000 for this property. It says uh, based on XYZ attributes, that's access, timber, utilities, etc. I believe I can pay X for your property. However, as I said, this is like a lot. It's like, however, as I said above, like every property is unique, and I'll have to look at your property to determine what I can actually offer. But I think it's this,
Mm.
and that also, like, I feel like that helps give us wiggle room when people call us back. So like I'm always able to negotiate down.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Based off of these things that I found, now that I actually looked at it, we can't do that price. We can do that. We're at this price here.
Exactly.
No, that makes sense. Well, 100 deals is no small feat, so I would definitely commend you for consistency over time. And considering it's your first year, that's pretty good, man. That's really good. What are some like
Oh,
difficulties you have?
that was our. So I started in 2021. So 2023 number, that was my first year full
Yeah,
time business. So like we had a good 2022, and then you know during 2022, I was like, okay, now it's now or never. You have to make the jump.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What was like transitioning from your lawyer job? Because I actually have a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and I told him about this game, but he's like he doesn't want to make the jump. So what's that like that? What's that urge or need to jump off the ledge and transition over from being a lawyer? Because you're, I mean, lawyers do not get paid cheaply, in my opinion. They're usually well paid. But what was like the stack that made you like, okay, I need to do this now?
Man, there's way more runway for entrepreneurs than there is for lawyers. Like there are there are lawyers out there that, yeah, they're trial lawyers at the big time plaintiffs firms that are legitimately taking home millions of dollars a year. There are some of those guys out there, but like the really great ones that I saw, and I met a bunch of them. I
Hmm.
worked with some of them too. Like those guys live and breathe just litigation in some of the most stressful possible environments. So it's a mixture of like I saw based on what we had achieved in 2021 and 2022 that there was a significant runway in land in particular and entrepreneurship generally. And two, it was just kind of one of those things of, what do I want my life to look like? I was on the partner track of a great firm, firm it had 30 attorneys. It was 125 years old, like old line firm, great people all around. But, I just looked at where I would be, in 10 years. And I could see that all around me because those guys are the partners, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
do I want to do that or do I want to take this chance and bet on myself? And I was having that internal dialogue when I'm 28, 29, and when I'm not married, don't have kids, I'm like, if I don't do this now, I'm gonna get stuck eventually. So
Yep.
it's like, what happens if I fall? What happens if I fail? I'll fall right in my face. Like I've got a great education. I went to like a top 20 law school, the flagship law school in my state, and I'm not worried about finding a job if I,
Have to
go
go
do
back.
this. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Um. What what type of law did you go to school for?
So when you go to law school, it's more of a general education. So you go get a
Yeah.
JD, and there's core classes that you take, criminal law, constitutional law, contract. all that sort of stuff. Like if somebody's like, I went and go study, you know, X in law school. I studied constitutional law in law school. Okay, well, everybody did. It's really the legal profession really, when you get into the practice, it's more of a trade and it's something that you have to go learn by doing. You know,
Okay.
all of the best practitioners, like they had great mentors, they worked really hard, and they came up, you know, practicing the type of law that their mentor practiced. So I did a lot of business litigation. We had some big like bet the company cases between founders, basically founder disputes where you have these like cowboys who founded a great, very successful business. Then you get several years down the line. Now there's a disagreement, and they back up and say, okay, well, who actually owns this? So everybody sues each other, and
Mm,
you eventually find out. Uh, so at that, I had some real estate litigation, which has been helpful. We did a
mm,
lot of uh, representing cities and counties for whatever they were sued for. So that could be, a developer suing a county over a zoning case, over zoning, over the
yeah.
enforcement of a zoning law, or it could be, we represented a lot of law enforcement whenever they were sued for the various things that they get sued for. And then I was also the assistant city attorney for two small towns near where I practice.
Nice. So the reason why I really want to ask that question, because I know if you had some like real estate experience, I'm sure it's come in handy on the land side. Because even like any type of real estate lawyer experience, I mean, we're always consulting with our attorneys on a bunch of difficult stuff that you need to overcome. So I think that's why I was asking if it's come across and been useful.
Yeah, it definitely has been useful. I mean, like I handled some real estate litigation cases, I had some cases that pertain to zoning, some contested quiet title actions,
Hmm.
uh, but really something that's you know I think been very useful is my assistant city attorney experience and just knowing how like entitlements and you know entitlements, all that sort of thing work from the city side, and just knowing how those offices work. I've just seen it firsthand. I've sat in more city council meetings than any sane person probably should. So that's been helpful. And then just like in general, like when you're practicing attorney, your job is to go fix hard problems. You go fix the problem. Just that general skill and knowing that I can do the research to find what I need to find, and that could involve calling a whole bunch of people. It's probably a legal research component, but it's like I've done harder things than I'm doing now, and I think that confidence really pays dividends now.
Hmm. Yeah. So, how specifically has that helped him? Because like dealing with the county is like its own animal, and us as developers, sometimes we have the right to sue counties based off of the county may not wanting certain things to pass. And I think it's funny that you represented the county on that side too, because I always heard is like you can always fight the county, but if you don't need to, why do it? But like, what are like some like key points that maybe you're fighting a county, and what are things to look for and not look for whenever you're possibly in the midst of fighting it, you're going to battle with a county? Because this is something I may do pretty soon. This is a
I mean,
question.
hopefully you're right. Like, hopefully you don't need to fight with the county. And the number one rule with cities and counties is always to just be really nice. Like, there's probably an underpaid person that you're talking to that may not love their job. So, like, be really nice. If you can find a way to make their job really easy, do that. But the biggest recommendation I have is to just know the rules. Like a city or a county, an authority having jurisdiction, like they are bound by the rules that they have promulgated, and also any applicable state or federal laws. But on an entitlement perspective, where you're trying to get some approval from a county, you just really need to know the rules, so that way when they tell you no, you can't do that, you can know that they're wrong, and you just have to be able to politely tell them, like, hey, I disagree with you, and here's why. Here's what your code says, right?
I gotcha. So it comes down to knowing the rules. Now, how, and then this is one of the things, like I've looked at these counties regulations, and they are not healthy to read. They're like super long and detailed, and descriptions of, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to your nearest county, search up development requirements, and there's going to be like a 100-page PDF telling you the steps and processes to take, and terminology for certain things. And oh my goodness, you get lost in the weeds very quickly if you don't understand this. So, how do you know if you're right or wrong? I guess is the short answer, but I think the long answer to that is maybe ask somebody who's done stuff in that county. I don't know, but I know the legal stuff in all those documents it's Chinese, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, some jurisdictions in particular can be really tough to get to, especially when they're like not on Municode. Municode stands for it's just municipal code, but it's basically just a searchable database of city and county codes all over the country. Some really small jurisdictions don't have it, but that's the first place that I go to look for anything, and it's really helpful to get around the problem that you're talking about, where you just like, where do I even start with this? Because
Yeah,
it's searchable. Like when a city wants to get their code, out of probably literally a binder and onto a cloud platform like Municode, they basically have to redo the code and organize it in a better way. So
yeah,
for something like a subdivision, it's typically pretty easy. If they're on this website, it's typically pretty easy to go here and like find the section in particular that deals with what you want to do. And in my experience, it's like, yeah, there's just so much stuff there, but once you know what you're looking for, you can go out and you can isolate that in the code pretty easily. Um, and sometimes if it's not well written, just sometimes you even just have to call up to the county and be like, hey, what do you mean by this, and how do how do you interpret this? And a lot of times they'll tell you.
mm. Nah, that's something we've always done, is call the county. The county is the best resource, especially if they're in an up and coming area. They know what these codes are and what the process is, so usually willing to help you and help you overcome their own objections, in a certain way, and it just takes time. Um,
Yeah,
I was
and you
dealing.
just ask them too, like, uh, just ask questions. If they, I've been on tons of calls with county officials, and like, oh no, no, if you do that, then that'll trigger, minor subdivision. Okay, well, what if it's already in multiple different lots here? Like, what if we just did a lot line adjustment, so then, everything has better road frontage, and then you don't have to go through full platting. Oh yeah, that'll work.
You got to be creative. You got to be creative to overcome their own issues, because sometimes they're not thinking through your mindset of what problem you're trying to solve. They're trying to solve it through their own parameters that they have set through the county. So if you think outside the box, you can possibly create your own solution without going through the hassle.
Precisely, and like the county official's mind, it's like water plus gravity. It's going to go through the path of least resistance,
Yeah.
right? It's going to
Yeah.
go through the path of least resistance. So like sometimes you have to divert that water. It's still going to get to the same place, but you have to divert it to another direction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's important, and this is where it comes down to like knowledge and experience comes in, where you understand what it takes to get the end result. And you can ask the right questions, and then they'll guide you down the right path.
Yeah. And again, like I want to reiterate, like the most important thing is just not taking an adversarial position with the county when you don't have to. It's just being really super nice to the people on the other side. Just you'll end up in a lot better place. You attract more flies with honey than vinegar.
It's not their fault they're annoying, you know.
I agree with that for sure.
It's not their fault, and like you mentioned it earlier too. They're underpaid. They're probably underpaid for all the stuff they have to deal with. So better to be nice and get on their side than fight them. Fight them any way which you could, because that doesn't lead anywhere good. Doesn't lead anywhere good at all. So let's talk about let's talk a little. I think this is a great conversation. Now, do you solve difficult chain of title problems? Because I know that's a specific niche that a lot of investors dive down into. But you're a lawyer. I don't know if this is something that you do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when a title issued property comes across our desk, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, let's figure out what's going on. Because I know that, like, these problems are difficult, but they're almost always solvable, especially if all the parties are on board. So, yeah, we definitely do those. And, you know, I love a clean deal more than anything. You have I make an offer, it's accepted, we buy it, we sell it, but the dirty ones are fun too. And a lot of times, like you get a way better return fixing an issue with the property, whether that's a dirty deed or you know if there's boundary issues or there's like some sort of it's unclear of like where the property is. You can fix those things as well. Um, and I look at that like just another. Everybody talks about forced appreciation and subdividing as a strategy of forced appreciation. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this is the same thing. This is a strategy of forced appreciation, right? You're taking it from basically from a situation where you are the market. If there's a title issue property, they can't sell because of a title issue, and they don't want to spend the money. They don't want to risk that money to fix it, but I'm willing to spend my time and money to fix it, right? So I am their market. Therefore, I set the price.
Yep.
I fix it, and then I go arbitrage that to the larger market where it sells for market price.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think it's you kind of said it, hit down the head. Is there's multiple ways to add value to land, and sometimes it's solving the paperwork, and sometimes adding the paperwork. Sometimes it's adding a fence and all that other stuff. Do you do anything like that, or do you? I mostly sell as is. I rarely clean up properties. We do it here every once in a while here and there, but do you value add on the property itself physically?
Yeah, we often do. We often do. But it just depends on the property and how nice the property is. If it's a lower end property and we're getting it super cheap, probably not. Um, if it's a property that we're going to sell for $500,000, probably so. We'll want to. It just depends on the buyer that we're going after. If I could like say one more thing about
Sure.
the just title issue properties, something really important to find there to help you solve those things is a really great, uh, somewhat aggressive closing attorney slash title company, depending on what jurisdiction jurisdiction you're in, because that's the person that's going to write title insurance, and
Yep.
title insurance is what you need. That's like your finish line. When you have Fidelity, First National, what have you, title insurance company, issue a policy. Who do they farm that out to? It's your closing attorneys and your title companies. So you need to find a title company or closing attorney who is willing to look at a quiet title action and dive down into it, make sure everything was done correctly. Okay, yeah, I'll issue this policy. And not all attorneys are willing to do the extra work that it takes to get insurable title on these properties with issues. So you just have to go about finding a really good attorney for that. And I'm like, I never wrote title. I know how to go about fixing a lot of issues, but at the end of the day, I still need
A good attorney.
Yeah, you got to have a good team, right? So you got to have that person on your team. They're critical for this type of property.
Absolutely. I will second that 100%. We've gone through some trouble title stuff, and your back end team, and I think the way you mentioned title search being the finish line is 100% correct, because once you get title insurance, I mean, it's kind of on the insurance's part to, if something goes bad, it's on them, and it's no longer your fault. So once you did everything up to that point, you're in the green and you're free to do whatever you want after that point. We've only had one instance where we closed the property, we sold it, and then there was like an IRS lien, so we have to go through the title insurance for the property, and the money got stuck in limbo till the insurance paid out. But it happens. It happens. I think it's the cost doing business, and once you understand the business and the risk it takes, it is what it is. But definitely having a good team on the backside to help underwrite and make sure you're doing those things properly. And this is one of the things I love about real estate is that no matter how difficult the problem, there's always a solution.
Totally. If you want the deal bad enough, like you can find that solution, and you can find it ethically too. But the big thing is just for solving any of those problems is just like finding every party who has an interest in the property, and B, getting them on board. Everybody's got to be in the boat. You can't leave somebody behind.
Absolutely. What size deals are you normally looking for? Because I think like most land investors, they usually play around that 100,000 or less value point. Have you gone above that? And like, what's your buy box look like? And what states are you buying in?
So we're buying in multiple states in the Southeast. We're also buying in multiple Western states. So it kind of runs the gamut. Last year we did deals in 10 different states.
Nice.
Our bread and butter deal is probably, call it buy for 25 to 30, sell for 45 to 55, somewhere in that range. But we do a lot of deals outside of that, and we really, really like doing bigger stuff, bigger deals. We've been blessed with some good hits last year, like 6-figure profit deals. The largest single property that we bought last year was 296 acres. That was a 6-figure profit, like net profit deal. We had a bunch of other really nice ones, and then at the end of last year, we bought multiple properties that are going to end up being 6-figure profit deals as well. There's one that's almost 250 acres that we bought. We have one now that I'll post a deal deep dive on Twitter after it closes, but it had some questions about access. It didn't have power, multiple different smaller but solvable issues. And we bought it for $170,000, listed it 2 days after it listed. We went under contract at $422,500.
Nice.
I mean, there's everybody, that's the type of deal that people got into land investing to do. And those happen. Like if you send enough mail, like those, it's a law of averages thing. Like those deals happen.
No, that's amazing. I think it's really cool, and there's so many people that stay under that $100,000 value point. But once you go above that, the spreads get ridiculous, and you really find some great opportunities that you would never even know were there if you just didn't venture up that high.
Totally.
What is a quote that is yours or somebody else's that you resonate with?
Quote that is mine or somebody else's that I resonate with.
I got him, guys. I got him. I stumped him.
The gods envy us. They envy us because we're mortal. Because any moment may be our last. That's Homer, the Iliad.
Wow.
So basically, you'll never be here again. Just take advantage of this life and what you can do with it, and your life can be anything that you want it to be.
Absolutely. Nah, that's a good one, man. I've never heard of that one before. That's a good one. By us being able to mold our own life, we deal with the consequences, but we also create our own future. That's good, man. I like that one.
Thanks. I have it framed in my office.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I usually ask it, because most people usually have it framed in their office. Where can people find you online?
You can find me at Landlawyer Brian on Twitter.
And if somebody has a deal for you and they think they have a troubled title deal, where can they send you a deal?
My DMs are open. DM like a degenerate, please.
Hit him on Twitter. Is what he's trying to say. Well, I think we covered a lot of stuff today. I really appreciate you coming on. For everybody here, this has been a different conversation. Like, since I can't see him, I'm like drifting away. Like, I look to the left, look to the right. So I'm not actually looking at anybody. It's been interesting today. But I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for providing value. I think land is a really cool niche, and I really like people that participate in it and do amazing things in it, because it's very underappreciated, and I appreciate people that appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you, and thank you for inviting me on. And this has been my first podcast, and been a great guy to guide me through it.
There you go. Landlawyer Brian, go check him out. You know what to do. Go like, share, subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hey, if you have any deals you'd like to submit to the Hive Mind and our team, go to hivebc.io. It's actually the Hive Buyers Club. Submit your deals, and we can hopefully dispose your deal for you. Have a great day.